and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. And I am your host, Mr. Mark Roxy. I am delighted to see you all and be with you, whether you're here on YouTube or you are listening on Apple Podcast. Welcome to our tiny little show, which I know is getting big praise and people are tuning in, so that's awesome. And I am with my partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up, Harold?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, brother. It's good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm fine, man. A lot of stuff going on. Can't wait to get started.
Yeah, well, let's get right into it, man. We got a lot of boxing. There's so much that took place this past week in the boxing world, man. I mean, the headlines are just busting at the seams. And, you got Gennady Golovkin back on the scene. He's getting ready to fight a guy, Rutoya Murata. That fight's going to happen in April. Gennady Golovkin is making noise, man. He's running all over the headlines. You hear him talking about Canelo Alvarez, saying that he won both of the fights. I guess he wants to get in that conversation. And, of course, we're going to talk today a little bit about Canelo Alvarez rejecting the, $100 million offer to face Charlo and Benevides in a 2-fight deal. And then, the news just goes on and on. Jamie Munguia says it's time for Gennady Golovkin. So there he is again, right? And then, of course, we've got Ryan Garcia. He will remain undefeated his entire career, says his new trainer, Mr. Joe Goosen. Yeah, man, that's a lot. We got to chop that up. We're going to talk a lot about that. But then, of course, Rolly Romero is, of course, in the conversation, saying that Canelo really doesn't have a killer instinct, man. There are lots of people saying lots of things about the $100 million man. Actually, Canelo is worth like 140 mil. So then you tack on another 100, man. That's 240 mil. That's pretty freaking impressive as far as I'm concerned. Andrade is a tougher fight than Canelo. I guess that's Benevides. That's a shout out to Benevides, right? So anyway, there's lots of news. We're going to talk a lot about that and a bunch of other stuff. So Harold Hunt, my man.
Yes,
let's get into this talk. Well, I know you wanted to say on the last episode you were talking about the fight in Don King land, and you had some things you wanted to share with the audience, and I was delighted to hear what you had to say, and I'm wondering if you want to share that or if you don't want to share that.
I will, quickly.
Yeah, man.
As I was saying, Mark was a cut man that evening, and I was in press row. Thanks to Boxing Breakdown, they allowed me to be there in press row. As I was sitting there with the other press people from various situations, I was saying, my guy Mark is the cut man there. And I point out him to about 8, 9, 10 people. We were up on the stage looking over at the fight. And about the third round, Mark's guy got cut. And the blood was splashing around and what have you. And I said, well, he's got to go to work. So everyone there was watching Mark because we're press people. We know how cuts can affect the fight. And people shut down or they get anxious when they see the fight. We don't want to see the blood, so we didn't know what was going to happen. So we were all watching Mark in between rounds. He cleaned up the man's cut. He closed the cut. It didn't bleed anymore for the subsequent, I think it was 7 or 8 rounds. And I think Mark was not more entertaining, but we enjoyed watching the spot, the 3 minutes as he went to work. He was very quick into the ring. He got in position quickly. He fixed the cut. The main thing was it did not bleed any further, and it went to distance. And that was your handiwork, and I want to commend you for that. But you had a lot of new fans in the press who saw your work and was impressed.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Listen, Harold, I know I didn't realize that's what you were going to say, but that was a title fight. It was a title fight. It was a heavyweight title fight, and it was a great night of boxing. I'm really happy to be there. I was happy to be there with you, that we could share that night together, and I was really happy that I could contribute to that fighter who I wasn't his head trainer, but certainly if he had not made it through that fourth round where he was, I think it was a headbutt, it might have been an elbow or head, but he was pretty much cut. It was about 8 or 9 stitches at the end of the day. So it was a pretty big cut, and it was located directly over the eye. So when I saw that cut, I was thinking, man, this is a bad one here, right? And it was only the fourth round. It was actually just coming out of the fourth round.
Fourth round, yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely appreciated the opportunity to be in there and to work that cut. I was also, I have to tell you, I give a shout out to my boy Billy Briscoe from Philly, because Billy's actually the cut man. Billy is an amazing cut man, and I've learned a tremendous amount of what I know about cuts from Billy, because I normally hire Billy to do cuts. But Billy was there, man. He was there at the fight as well. He was working a guy's corner, and Billy was screaming, man. He was right outside of the gates of the blue corner, and he was like screaming at me, "Come on, you got this!" It was like we were fighting. I was just doing cuts, but his support was just incredible, and he really got me through that fight. I knew that if I got in trouble and I needed a little extra help or a couple of other end swells, that he'd be right there to throw them to me. As it turns out, it was fine. It was a great night. Ahmed Hefney was the name of the fighter, and he was a privilege to work with. Amazing guy. And we got through the 10 rounds, and he lost the fight in a very controversial split decision. So it was a great night of boxing. We had a lot of fun, and we ended up in the emergency room after that, because you better go to the doctor and get your eyes sealed up properly so that you can fight again. Because if you don't get your cuts, for all you guys out there that are listening in, if you do get cut in a fight, or even in the gym, make sure that you get that cut cleaned out, and get it stitched up properly so you can live to fight another day. Because if you don't, you're going to have big problems. And so there you go. Harold, thank you, man. That was a great little tribute to me, and I throw it right back to you, because you did an amazing job in press row, and making lots of wonderful connections, and really journaling the fight. So it was great for all of us, and it was great for the Boxing Breakdown that you were there. So I want to talk to you, Harold. I know that we've been talking offline a little bit about Demetrius Andre, and I'd like you to just tell me what you got on this guy.
The WBO is going to allow him to move up to super middleweight and participate in an interim championship fight, which will line him up to fight Canelo, as Canelo will have to defend the WBO title, which he holds, which is a good place for Andre. He gets to get out of his division and move up, right, and get into the Canelo sweepstakes. legally, as in he doesn't have to call him out. It will be a mandatory by the WBO.
Right. Well, he's got a tough fight with, I think he's fighting Zach Parker, right? 168, Zach Parker?
Yes. However, in my opinion, it's a walkover.
Yeah? Tell me.
The gentleman is going to fight well. He's going to do what he needs to do, but Andre is a great boxer. He's going to do what he has to do to win the fight so he can be in line for Canelo. So he's not in danger of being hurt or knocked out. The fight may or may not be a stinker, but Andre should easily win.
Right. Okay, so let's assume that he does win. We've seen plans get foiled in the past, haven't we, Harold?
All the time. That's the best part about boxing. You can say what you want.
Let's not look past Zach Parker because we've seen some major upsets in the recent couple of months. And, so anyway, for Andre's plan, he's got to get past Zach Parker. Then what's this business of David Benevides?
Well, Benevides has the same situation with the WBC. He will have a super middleweight fight, which he will be when he wins. If he wins, he will be the mandatory for the WBC version of Canelo's 168 championship belt. So they both are in a situation where if they win, whichever mandatory is mandated first, the WBO may want theirs first or the WBC may want theirs first, either or, those two gentlemen will be in line for that. If that all falls out, they'll fight each other and create a WBO, WBC super middleweight intern titleist rather. Wow. So that in itself could get the public to say, hey, let's see it, because they are strapped up and here's the mandatory, and he can knock them both out at the same time. So we'll see how it works out. Listen. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see this effort from the sanctioning bodies.
Okay, Harold, let's just chop this up for a second, because David Benevides has to get through David Lemieux. Right?
Okay.
Is that right? Because that's who he's supposed to be fighting. It's number 1 and number 2 by the WBC, which is David Benevides and David Lemieux. So they have to square off. Now, I'm going to tell you something about David Lemieux. David Lemieux is no walkover. He's a tough fighter.
Yes, he is. Continue.
Okay. Yeah, no. So I'm just saying that David Benevides and, both Demetrius Andre and David Benevides both have to get through tough fights. And if they both get through, then what happens? Tell us.
As I said, they'll be in line, or they'll have to fight each other if Canelo balks and does something else. So we don't know. But Lemieux, yes, he's a great fighter. However, he doesn't deliver his work down the middle.
Right.
Benevides delivers his work down the middle. And that in itself should lend to him being victorious.
Well, okay, so Canelo is not always known for taking the toughest fights, right? So he might, whoever he's going to fight, I forgot the guy's name, but the guy that Canelo may square off against is a relatively easy win for Canelo. However, so what we're lining up here is
Demetrius Bivol, just to be clear.
Yeah, okay, so Demetrius Bivol is the guy, right?
Right.
Okay, so, I guess what I'm saying to you is that Demetrius Andre and Benevides have to go up against one another. If they do, and when they do, right, then Canelo could theoretically take one of those guys, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about that.
Well, the one he should take, just looking at Canelo's record and who he's going to fight or whatever, I would do the Andre fight first, only because you're going to have a lot of work that can be done through the media, through the run up, all of that because of the bad blood between the two. And that's going to be fireworks because he can really carry the media stuff of Mr. Gentleman here that we're viewing right now, Mr.
Right.
Andre. He can really carry that, so he's excellent for that. As far as a long fight, it should be a long fight. He's not going to stand there and fight with him toe to toe, so it'd be very tactical, very cerebral. That would be a good fight. That was the one I would take first. If in fact he wins that fight, then he can take the Benevides fight because that's naturally going to be big because of the heritage of the two fighters. So I would take the Andre money first, and then I would go to Benevides.
Interesting. Well, listen, I cannot wait until all this stuff lines up because these are big fights we're talking about. This is the 168-pound division is on fire. WBC, you've got David Benevides, David Lemieux, Daniel Jacobs, Pavel Siliagin, Caleb Plant is still in there, and Anthony Durrell is in there, Jesse Hart.
Yes, he is.
Man, you've got Christian Mabel and Billy Joe Saunders. And then with the WBA, there's a whole host of guys up there, right? David Morales got a belt there. Saul Canelo Alvarez, of course, has all the belts unified at 168. And so, the question is, do you think he's going to stay there? Or do you think he's going to vacate?
He's already made the history with the 168. Right. If he vacates, he won't be slapped on the wrist too much if he continues at 175 and clears that out also.
So what do you think if you were going to speculate? So he's going to go start off with the WBA, trying to get the Dimitri Bivol.
At 175, yes.
Yeah, at 175. So that should be very, very interesting if he does that.
I don't see any problem with him taking being victorious in this fight. It will be testy for a moment, but he should win that easily. Now, if he continues at 175 and keeps that weight and keeps that muscle mass and stays there and tries to clean out the division, which every other champion would jump at just because of the sweepstakes that are involved, he could actually do that. The same thing he did with the 168, he could go ahead and run through the 175. Right. Now, the contract is a whole nother situation that could derail that. I guess we're going to talk about that. But as of now, I'll let you go ahead and introduce that, or I can step on it now.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think we kind of got through how that all is going to line itself up. I just wonder, what's the story with Jermell Charlo?
That's Big Charlo, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, Big Charlo has been cleared of all charges, and as of now, he's sitting waiting to see what Canelo is going to do. I don't know if it's really hurt him as far as the public is concerned. This kind of thing happens all the time, and when charges are totally dropped, then it's kind of swept underneath the rug as powerful, of course, as a fighter who has when you're a fighter, a lot of people try to come, get in your face. So that's just goes to the territory.
Oh, yeah.
As Floyd always likes to say. But we have to see what Canelo's going to do. So right now, Canelo, they're saying he's going to do the B-Wall fight. But the derailment can happen because Golovkin has not signed the contract yet. He's saying he can win this, that, and the other, but he hasn't signed the contract. So until that's done, Canelo's deal is not in place. The deal is for the two fights, Bivol and Golovkin. So he's holding up the money. If that doesn't happen, he's been offered, as you just said, the Charlo fight and the Benitez fight for what, $100 million.
Benevides, right? Yeah.
Benevides, I said that correctly. Yes. So
which he turned down. He rejected it.
Yes, technically, in case it's open to him at all times. If Golovkin decides he doesn't want to sign a contract, this, that, and the other, that can always happen. So no one's going to tell Canelo no.
Right. Well, as I mentioned at the top of the program, Galati Triple G Golovkin has a fight coming up in Japan, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So I mean, that's
Mariota.
yeah,
If I said that
exactly.
correct, yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's going to be a good fight. I don't see Mariota giving him any problems. It may go the distance and cause the public to say, "Oh, he's really slipping. He's really slipping." But he'll be ready for Canelo if they fight again, because that's a whole nother mental space he'll be in.
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see Galati Golovkin back in the ring. It's been quite a while, right?
Yes, it has been, but his skill set is pretty inherited. So as long as he's in shape, he's going to perform. As he does. I don't see any ring rust, anything like that on him. I don't see that. His age has nothing to do with his skill set is so ingrained.
Is he back? Has he returned back to his trainer Abel Sanchez? Is that what happened, or what's happening with him?
Last I read or understood or been told, he still is with his new trainer after he released Abel.
Okay.
Then supposedly he went back to him. So I just don't know where he is, because
Right.
people are switching trainers left and right. As you know, Ryan
Oh,
switched
yeah. Well.
trainers, and
We're gonna get into that in a minute.
oh,
You already jumping all over there.
my bad.
But it's totally fine. I have that on the list of stuff that we have to talk about. So no, man, it's totally understandable. Our podcast here, is brought to you by Scattered Boxing World. The boxing world is pretty scattered right now, so
As
our
it is.
podcast is coming off like that, right? So, yeah, man. I would say let's touch a little bit on the big guy in the news, as far as I'm concerned. As I mentioned in the last broadcast, the guy who I covered this guy in the at the end of the year in our last podcast that we did for 2021 as the brightest star for 2022, which is Jerron Boots Ennis, right? And here we go. In the last podcast, we talked about, Jerron Boots Ennis. You and I were having a conversation, and I said to you, listen, I don't care what Sean Porter says, right, that he's overrated. Sean Porter said, a couple of things in the that really reverberated around the boxing world and in the boxing community, which I understand where he was coming from. He was a little frustrated with everybody hyping up Jerron Ennis. But the fact is, Jerron Ennis at this point has the goods. He has the goods. And I said that in the last podcast. I'm going to say it again. He's just the guy, and he's, we had a discussion, Harold, of whether or not he was a prospect, right, or a contender, although he's not really a contender, right, but he actually is a contender just waiting for his chance to get a shot at the title, right? That's what's happening with Jerron Ennis. Did I hit that right?
Yes, but he's on the undercard, so you get to compare him. The world gets to compare him. When they buy the pay-per-view, they get to see him fight whoever he's going to fight. Then Earl and Ugas will fight, and people will have a reference point to see how his skill set compares to Spence and Ugas, and that's going to be a huge boost for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's going to bring his marketability and his ticket sales, as we touched on in the last podcast, yes, right? Which aren't really ticket sales. It's really pay-per-views and people that really love boxing. You want to see a guy who's going to be a future star, then you better start paying attention to Jerron Boots Ennis. And, I expect my check in the mail, Boots. But you are the real deal. So that's just what's up, man.
Agreed.
You're a solid fighter.
Inside the ropes, he's got it.
Yeah, inside the ropes, he's got it, man. And he appears to have it on the outside of the ropes too. So he seems to be, managing his stardom pretty darn well. So Yeah, I mean, so how do you see that lining up? Let's talk about that saga. How do you see it lining up?
The Boots
Yeah,
undercard fight,
yeah.
or uh, where he could land after these fights are completed.
That's what we want to talk about. Where do you think he can land?
Well, providing Spence beats Ugas, he'll be the IBF mandatory. Uh, we have to see if Spence is going to take that fight at this time, or he wants to do some other things, meaning that he may drop that belt and defend one or the other two, the other three. We
Right,
don't know what he's going to do, how he wants to handle that, but he'll be undisputed if he wins with Ugas. I believe he'll go right to Crawford,
right,
and if he has all four belts, he has the opportunity to do what he wants to do. He may
right,
move up to 160 or 154. They say that's where he is supposed to be,
right.
because of his height and his frame. So there's so much to see. He just wants to unify, and I believe when he unifies, he may actually vacate and move up.
Right. Yeah, well, he's number 4 by the WBC. He's number, I think, 3 by the WBA, number 3 by the IBF, and number 2 by the WBO. So,
Boots is in a good situation right now. Yes.
yeah, he's in pole position. Excuse me, and he got there pretty quickly. Because just a couple months ago, maybe about 6 months ago, he wasn't even in the top 20, if you recall.
Yes. His fandom spread really quickly uh, with the hardcore boxing people.
Yeah,
It's just that the casuals don't know who he is at this point, and
yeah,
the pay-per-views would really help that quite a bit. If he could grab a good endorsement of Subway like Mike Lee did, who was a total unknown, if he could grab something to kind of get his face out there,
yeah.
it would really truly help. So I just don't know what his contract allows him to do. We just don't know where he's at, but he will have that pay-per-view fight, and if they do the run-up properly and the background and all of that, the expectations for him will be huge, and he won't steal the show, but he'll be a central interest point of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so listen, if you guys are tuning in on Apple Podcast, or if you are watching the program on YouTube, let us know what you think. Do you think Jaron Ennis is overrated? Do you think Sean Porter's comments about about Jaron Ennis being overrated are true? Let us know what you think. Or do you think he is the future of the division?
That's a bad word. Overrated. You cannot say that in the boxing world.
You can't.
Bad word.
I'm not. I
Bad
never
word.
said it. I'm just paraphrasing. I'm actually just stating what was already said by another person. Okay, another person who holds some weight in. When he speaks loudly, and when he walks with a big stick.
He has a job. He is to say what he needs to say. He needs to stir the pot. That's what it is.
Yes.
So I take it with a grain of salt. He's going to say what he needs to say. He has yet to be in the ring with him. He hasn't sparred with him. He's just, the eye test, just like you and I have, and all the fans who are watching. So we all have the same eye test.
So to Sean Porter's credit, Sean Porter did back off those statements most recently. He did come out and he did say that, he admits that Jaron Ennis is the real deal, and really he's just looking forward to watching him fight again. So he did come out and say that. I'm just, I'm blowing smoke up everybody's butt there. So
bad word, Mark. Overrated is a bad word.
Yeah, man, it is a bad word, but you know what? People use it all the time. So, if you don't like bad words, get used to it.
Overrated.
Yeah, man, for real. So, all right, so let's talk about the Charlo brothers.
Okay.
Charlo brothers. What's going on with the Charlo brothers?
Well, Little Charlo, as they call him, he his fight was postponed. It was an injury with his opponent. Of course, those Charlo guys do not like excuses. So he has to sit back for 4 weeks and allow his opponent to heal up.
Right.
So, and of course, he's saying conspiracy. He doesn't want to fight. It's not real. This, that, and the other. The only good part about it is that he's been here before. He's had fights that were postponed before, so he knows what to do to keep himself sharp. So
Right.
that's good for him in this situation. He has expertise with waiting another 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about the other Charlo brother?
Well, he's just sitting and waiting to see what Canelo's going to do, rather,
Wait.
and just his opportunity.
So
He's at
Jim,
160, and he would need to move up to 168 if Canelo wants to fight him. Right now, I haven't seen anything.
well, Harold, I don't know if you picked up on the wire, but the Jermel Charlo says that he'd like to see the doctor's reports from Castano because that fight's canceled now. Right? I guess he said he had a bad shoulder or bad arm or something. What did he hurt?
I think it was his wrist or his. I think it was his wrist, and
Really?
of course he's going to want to see that. That's just what the Charlos do. They want to see that.
It wasn't
They
his
tend
wrist.
to. What was it?
You triggered me, man. It was his bicep. You heard his
Bicep.
bicep. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
I can understand how he that's just what he does. He's going to question it. He's going to kind of wind it up in the public's eye. That's just what they do, and I respect it. That's their mode of operation. He should do so if that's what he does.
right. Well, I mean, do you think there's something else behind him getting injured, or do you think it because there's some rumors out there that said Castano wasn't in shape, or
Well,
I mean, what do you think, or do you think about that?
well, there's rumors about me being 6'4", and I'm not. you know, so rumors are everything. I mean, rumors are out there, man, all
Yeah,
over the
man.
place. So you can't even say, what's real and what's not real. All I know is it's good press. We're talking about it. The world
Well,
is talking about it. So
yeah.
it's great. I think it's good. I think it just helps the whole situation. More people are going to tune into it because Charles is going to be saying, "Yeah, you ducked me. You was out of shape. Now I'm really going to, perform well on you. I'm going to make you sorry you did that. This, that, and the other." So it's just going to be more hype,
Right.
and he
Well,
tends to really get himself wound up behind this kind of thing, and he will fight emotionally. He does do that. They both fight emotionally.
right. Well, I mean, the thing is that these guys work so hard. They work so hard to get the fights, and then when they get the fights, to find out that the fight is postponed is, I mean, it's disappointing for the fighters, and it, hits them in the pocket pretty hard, delays their cash flow. Um, well, but this fight is supposedly only delayed.
4
You see
weeks.
my little quotes, right? 3 to 4 weeks. So, I mean, if you pull a bicep, I mean, is the bicep torn? I mean, I think it definitely warrants a doctor's note.
Like you're at school somewhere, right?
Yeah, man. You can't, yeah, because you're messing with people's money. You can't just, you gotta show and prove. If you really have a bicep injury, then you really have to show that because there's a lot of time, effort, and money that went into that fight, preparation for that fight. So, and I guess, they are saying the fight's going to happen. They're not saying it's not going to happen. But 3 to 4 weeks later, you know what happened with George Kambosos and Teofimo Lopez when they kept postponing the fight, right? So postponements are not, they don't work out. They don't
No,
work
they
out the
don't.
way you anticipate them working out.
No, they don't. As I said before, Charlo, he's been through this before, so He
Yeah.
has an idea how to get through it, positively. That's the only thing I can say about that.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I can tell you that if you tear your bicep, that's a pretty bad injury.
Is it?
It's
Is
not,
it?
you can't. I mean, you can't fight with one arm, and you know how you can't fight with a one arm? All you have to do is go back a couple of weeks ago, and who was it that we saw fighting with one arm?
Mr. Gary Russell
Yeah,
Jr.
and it didn't work It didn't work out for him, did it? I mean,
No,
he did great with one arm. I have to
he
say,
did.
he was amazing with one arm, but it's not, it's not ideal, So yeah, man. So all right, let's get into this Canelo Alvarez, and this is the big news. I really, really wanted to chop this up tonight with you. The Canelo Alvarez $100 million payday. Well, let's just close our eyes. If you're driving around, do not close your eyes. If you're sitting at home watching us on YouTube, close your eyes and envision $100 million. Can you just picture it? $100 million. How do you turn down $100 million, Harold?
Well, you don't unless you have that already. You got to give away 40 for taxes. So let's just get that off the rip. So so you're looking at, 60, 65 he'll put in his pocket after everybody's paid. Still,
Right.
that's quite a lot of money. They say once you make $45,000, and from there, your human physical luxury is no different from someone who is making 3, 4, 5 times that much. So his comfort level is already there. He
Right.
just if he sees more zeros, fine. But as far as his comfort level, his generational wealth and all that, it's not an issue. So he can
Right.
afford to turn down that kind of money
I
for what
want
he
you,
wants.
I would like you, please, to break down what you just said. This is the Boxing Breakdown. You are listening to the Boxing Breakdown, and Harold's about to break down how $45,000 is no different than $100 million. Harold, break that down for me.
As in your physical human comfort. I've heard this and read this many times. As far as you feeding yourself and clothing yourself and that type of thing, you can
Okay.
actually, you can have some semblance and enjoy your life up to a point where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
So when someone has been living like that for 20, 30 years, $100 million, and they know they can make more, have opportunity to make more money, that's just the first number that comes through where he can maybe do 120, 130 if he turns this down. When you have that kind of option, you do that. You just don't take the first one. And he is a man of boxing right now. So he may say, look, I need 130 to do this. I need 120 to do this.
Right.
So we don't know. So when he turns it down, it's not because he's saying, oh, that's a lot of money. He feels like he's worth that if he's going to do this. And it's not going to add anything to his physical life financially. It's not. He'll just have more to pass on, but it's
Yeah.
not. He has opportunities just to make more. So why not?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's you. I can't say that I actually, well, it's not even agreeing. I just can't relate, like I can't relate to how you would turn down $100 million to fight two guys that theoretically you can beat. Theoretically, right? Let's talk about that theory.
Well,
What do you think? Do you think that
the
Canelo?
Charlo fight, he beats Charlo to me.
Okay.
He beats Charlo to me.
Yeah.
The Benevides fight, it'll be something that will be seen for 5, 6 rounds, but Benevides is going to he'll lose also, in my opinion. I mean, I see him trying to put the power on him and all that, and he's going to be aggressive and what have you, but he has a lot of holes in him, in his style. And when you attack, you leave yourself open. Mark, of course, you know this, so maybe you can speak to that. But you leave yourself open when you attack, and he's a constant attacker. Charlo is pretty much one-dimensional, so he'll be able to figure him out pretty easily. And he's a really tough guy. So if he's getting hit clean, he's going to stand in there and take all that. He's going to do a Deontay Wilder type thing. Right. He may not get knocked out, but he'll take a lot of punishment, in an attempt to, to prove the situation. But he'll know the fight's over in about the fourth round. He's not beating Canelo.
Well, Charlo, I'm sure if Charlo's listening to the program right now, he's not going to be happy that you just said that. Nor will Benevides be happy that you said that. And I'm sure all the Benevides and Charlo fans will be dropping it like it's hot on the Boxing Breakdown comment.
Yes. I have to watch myself going to the car. But hey,
we're all entitled to our opinions, and certainly you are entitled to your opinion. You most certainly are. I will say that Canelo Alvarez, he's a champion. So, if you follow him. I mean, obviously, he's listed as the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world right now at number 1. And behind him is a welterweight Terrence Crawford, followed by a heavyweight Tyson Fury, and then another heavyweight, Alexander Usyk, my favorite name to say.
Yes,
and then, man.
I'm not discounting. I'm not discounting Canelo, not at all. I'm just stating the facts. And if you just look at the two styles there and see what Canelo has done once he hurts someone and how he doesn't get hit, he doesn't get buzzed, no matter what your weight class is, just because of that. Once he hurts you, he got you. And I see Canelo hurting Benevides. I see him hurting Charlo. I see that. I see them taking that punch and saying, "Oh, I don't see them delivering anything to Canelo is going to make him be wary or wonder about his well-being in that ring." I just don't see them offering anything to him. I don't see it.
Right. What about the Triple G? What about Galati, Triple G, Golovkin? What about him?
That'll go the distance again. It'd be a nice fight. Triple G cannot hurt him. But their styles make for a good action fight round to round. That's what we'll see there. But Canelo will win that also.
Well, Triple G has already stated that he believes he won both of the previous fights. So
why not? Why? Yeah, of course. I'd say that too. Hey, we got to hype this fight. I got to get paid. Everyone's got to get paid. You got to cause a controversy. Please. I mean, of course he's going to say that, but if he had the publicist said, "You say you won all those fights," and you try to, and here's the facts that you can spout saying you won the fight, and you just get the public all in the middle of it. Yeah. That's fine. But in the ring, he loses on points.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. I guess we'll just have to wait to see when those two square off against one another, because eventually that's going to happen. I think that's a fight that's a kind of fight that the fans really need to see. People that have been following Canelo Alvarez since he fought, Mayweather, because, a lot of that fight actually made Canelo a big draw. That was a huge passing of the torch when he fought Floyd. And, the Galati-Golovkin fight is one that's been on the table. It's been off the table. People have wanted to see that. There's some questions that Canelo needs to answer for, and I know that Triple G wants that fight again. I'm sure that's his big payday, right? That'll be his biggest payday of his life. And he probably wants to get that and exit stage left.
And he will graciously take that money, and he won't get beat up. He'll lose, but he won't get beat up because his skill set is good enough to keep Canelo away from knocking him out.
Right.
His skill set, he won't be knocked out. it'll go all the way. The other two aforementioned, I don't believe that's the case. And Benevides has a better chance. Benevides rather has a better chance than Charlo does, in my opinion.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So let's hit the $100 million button. That's the $100 million button, Harold. Listen, you get $100 million. Okay, everybody, open your eyes now, okay? I know you had your eyes closed the whole time, but now you got to open them, okay? Because we're getting ready to heat this up right here on the Boxing Breakdown. If you're listening to our program on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, thank you so much. Please leave a review for us, and we hope that you enjoy the program. It's a labor of love. We love bringing it to you.
Love it.
Yeah, we are so pumped about being with you in your car or wherever you're listening to the Boxing Breakdown. If you're tuning into our newly created YouTube channel, thank you very much. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. We look better on radio. We look much better on radio than we actually do on YouTube. So thanks for watching, but the audio, we look so much better on the audio. So let's get into the Teofimo Lopez news.
Well, as you know, or not, he and his father are migrating to the Reynoso gym where Canelo sets up shop. And we know how volatile the father is, or should I say, excitable or animated. And it's going to be an interesting dynamic between he and Reynoso. I believe the son will look forward to the work, and we'll see how Canelo works, and he will fall in line with that and see how that success can help him. We just have to see how the father is going to deal with another person being the lead on his son.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, that's huge news. Teofimo Lopez going to the Eddy Reynoso camp, the camp of world champions. He has more world champions, I think, than anybody else right now. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, put it in our YouTube comments or let us know who has the most world champions right now in the world. I'm thinking it's probably Eddy Reynoso. And if it's not Eddy Reynoso, he certainly is up there within the top 2 or 3 trainers that do. And Ryan Garcia recently departed the Eddy Reynoso camp, and I believe to go back to Joe Goosen. Is that correct?
Yes. And there's another development there.
Yeah.
Vito Melnicki, if you remember him.
Yeah, Vito Melnicki. Yeah, he's from New Jersey.
He left Goosen initially, went to another trainer, but this past week, he returned to Goosen. So Goosen not only has him and Ryan in the same gym. They'll be working together.
Yeah,
that's good sparring, and those are two excellent fighters to be taught the game by a very great trainer.
Yeah, for sure. Joe Goosen's going to have his hands full with those two guys. And, Eddy Reynoso's got his hands full. He's got his hands way full with lots of world champions, right? So that's a lot of work. A lot of work for y'all listening in out there. Just understand, these guys do not sleep. They train from sunup to sundown. When you're working that many champions, you try to put them together if you can. But that's a lot of work and a lot of individual talent that needs very, very specific modalities. Each one of them have their own way of fighting, particularly Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez has a very, very unique style a very unorthodox style. It's a very complex style that he uses to fight. And I just don't even know where to begin. How Eddy Reynoso is going to actually break down his training methods to Teofimo Lopez and subsequently to his father, because his father's involved as well.
Yes, his father taught him strictly off of YouTube. You watch YouTube to fix your sink. He watched YouTube to figure out how to train his son, and look what he's been able to do
Man,
by watching YouTube. And he has said that, he didn't know. He just simply watched stuff and got books and that type of thing. So the style is very unorthodox, and Reynoso is going to see a lot of different things he needs to correct or augment or whatever. But he did take him on. It wasn't like he just knocked on the door and said, "Come on in." You're going to no.
Yeah.
He looked at the style. He talked to the father. They vetted each other for months. It's not like it's just slam bam. Thank you, man.
They've known each other for a very long time, for sure.
However, once you get into the weeds and you're months in, like a new girlfriend, you're going to run her pretty good for about a month. Then the real one comes up. You got your representative when you first meet with that girl. You're a representative and she's a representative of yourselves. And then the representative goes home and the real person steps out. And that's when you know what's really going on. So once they get to that stage, then we'll see. You can be nice when you see somebody on the road or whatever and say, we're going to work together and have a few drinks and this, that, and the other. However, after 3 or 4 months, you have a disagreement or you don't get along with a certain situation, that's when your friendship is really tested. So that's going to be interesting to me to see how long.
The one thing about Teofimo Lopez Sr. and Jr. is that they have always sought out advice and talent and different perspectives on what they do. So it's not a surprise to me that he would, find himself in the Reynoso camp. I think one of the things that Teofimo Sr. is completely aware of is the idea that you want to train with masters and you want to kind of bring masters into your camp and have them, share knowledge, share skill. And he's done that to some extent. I mean, he's had, really, really great trainers with him all the way up. I mean, in all of the last 6 or 7 fights, I've seen a variety of talent come through the Teofimo Lopez camp, and really it has transformed him in the positive. I will say that the fight with Vasily Lomachenko was a great win, while the last 3 rounds of that fight maybe were not the best 3 rounds of Teofimo's career, and the adjustments that were made maybe were not the best adjustments, meaning the fighting up close, trying to trade with Vasily Lomachenko may have not been the best idea there in the last 3 rounds, but nonetheless, he won the fight. And in his last fight, there was a lot of speculation of the hole in his esophagus and other issues leading up to the fight that caused that performance to be what it was. Since that time, since we reported that, Harold, there hasn't been much talk about the hole in his esophagus. There hasn't been any additional reports about that. And so I just wonder, what was that not necessarily the truth of what was happening, or was it? I think it'll just be really interesting to see what kind of transformation can occur with him being with Eddy Reynoso, and what kind of skills he will come out of there. And I mean, you can see it says Eddy Reynoso will help Teofimo. It doesn't say Eddy Reynoso is going to be his head trainer. So it'll be interesting to see how it all transpires. Maybe I'm reading into it or not. I'm a little behind the 8 ball on it. The only way to know is to what? What do we have to do now?
See it happen.
We got to get Teofimo on the program.
That would be great, and that can happen. You have the inroads to do that. I'm not saying that the father is not a great trainer. He is. He obviously is. There's no doubt about it. I just
Well,
see
you got his.
him being. He's able to call the final shots, and he calls the final shots. He brings in whoever he wants to bring in, but he still calls the final shot.
That's right. Yeah, and
And
just to the point of him being a great trainer, look, there are boxing trainers and coaches that have been in this business for 40 years, 50 years, and they haven't been able to produce what Teofimo Sr. produced, which is a
absolutely,
unified, undisputed, right, by Maurice Suleiman, undisputed world champion. So, you have to, he was voted trainer of the year.
yes, yes,
He
yes.
has one poor performance, right? Yeah, of course he lost all the belts. And yeah, it was not an ideal situation. But that's where the story begins. This is an epidemic in the boxing community where, fighters that have a blemish on their record. This is new. This is like in the last 10, 15 years that this happened. Before that, there were, all the best fighters in the world had losses on their records. So the thing is that as a trainer, what I know is that, loss can sometimes define you, or a loss can really build you up. It's not a loss, it's a lesson, And so it'll just be interesting. All I'm saying is that nothing for me has changed as far as my belief in the team being able to get the belts back, get back in the spotlight that they had. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think they will get there, and I think it's real important to not allow the outside community to break them down. That's my personal opinion, because look at how far he got. Reynoso is a very talented trainer.
Absolutely.
Very, very talented. One of the best in the business. But, it's really about matching talent. And it's not always about going to the best trainer. Sometimes it's going to the best trainer for you, right? For you. And if his father has been, I guess that's a question they'd have to answer, right? Not us. But I'm just putting that out there, sharing a different perspective, right? What do you think?
Well, as you know, some fighters, they ride and die with their fathers, and sometimes their careers are truncated or slowed, or they plateau because they stay with the father, and the father has no more to teach them, and that can happen. Or the father lets go and allows the son to progress. Mosley did it. I remember that. Of course, the Haney, his father did it, and there's other ones who are not of note who have let their sons move on to other trainers because they realize their limitations in teaching their sons. So those are two dynamics that I really can't speak to, but we've seen it positively, and we've seen it negatively too. So I just know that he was successful in getting his son where he's at now, and who calls the final shot between he and Reynoso on his son will be interesting for me just to see, because Ryan left because he said he didn't Reynoso didn't have an adequate time to train him because of all the champions that were in the gym. So he's got to devote the proper time to Lopez for sure.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's the thing. You abandon or dissolve your team to go to a new team, and then the question becomes, well, what kind of time are you going to get? Are you going to get three times a day, 3 a days with your dad, or are you going to? It's a different. Listen, man, the boxing world, it's called a hurt business for a reason. And I'll leave it right there.
But it's great. It's exciting to see what's going to happen, how it's going to shake out, what kind of skill set he's going to pick up or not pick up, or he's going to change, how it's going to work and all of that. And they're going to be speaking Spanish in the training camp exclusively.
Yeah.
That's all of that is just a whole different atmosphere for Lopez.
Well, he does speak Spanish, and he is.
Yes, he
from Uruguay,
does. Yes, he
so,
does.
he's not. It's not gonna. He won't skip. He won't miss a beat.
No, he won't skip a beat,
Not
but
at
it's just to
all.
be a whole different. The vibe would just be different. It'd just be a
Yeah,
complete different
yeah.
culture because Reynoso runs it. It's a different culture. Period. There.
Well,
So
I wonder if Lopez will end up being a sparring partner for. Well, he's a little too small for Canelo. Gosh, Canelo's going to 175, man. Not even close, because he's gonna be down at 140.
I
That would be
can't
great.
say.
If they were
I mean,
both at the same weight, that would be fun sparring for
well,
sure.
maybe if he's before he starts to cut weight or whatever, he's maybe a little heavy, maybe 160 or something,
Uh,
somewhere in there, 150, and they do a light sparring, just to check the speed
light
and
sparring with
I don't know. There's no such thing as
Canelo
light sparring.
Alvarez and Teofimo Lopez. Light sparring? I can't imagine that would ever happen.
Well, yeah, that was a term that I shouldn't even say it, but
Man, light
but
sparring.
Tank has gotten in there with guys who are 50 pounds heavier, and they had real sparring. Where
Yeah,
they were trying to hurt. I mean, they were
yeah.
trying to.
Imagine you in the ring
No,
with
I
Canelo
can't.
Alvarez. Hey, Canelo, let's do light sparring. Let's do light sparring today. We're gonna spar lightly. I ain't never getting in there. That'd be like
Man,
that's beyond our
that
pay grade, my friend.
yes,
That's
I was like.
beyond our pay grade for sure.
But yeah, but I would love to be there just to watch all the champions train in Reynoso and watch
Oh
how
yeah,
Lopez incorporates himself in all of that. They all push each other, they're all champions, you know.
yeah. No, man. Hey, listen. February and March looks really, really exciting, Harold. We're just about ready to wrap up the program, and I just want to let you all know that February 26th, there is a WBC, WBO, IBF, WBA Junior Welterweight title on the line when Josh Taylor faces Jack Cottrell. That is going to be on Sky Sports. And then on February 26th, Chris Colbert faces off against Hector Luis Garcia on Showtime. That's for the WBA Super Featherweight Eliminator. And then on February 27th, we have the WBO Cruiserweight title with Lawrence Oakley versus Michael Theslek.
And that's on a Sunday.
Yeah, man, that's on Sunday, and that's actually on DAZN. Yep.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, March 4th, Friday, March 4th, Jose Ramirez versus Jose Pedraza, and that's going to be on ESPN at the Save Mart Center in Fresno, California. That's for the junior welterweight. It's actually just a junior welterweight bout, but I'm really excited.
That's a
That
great
one,
fight there.
I said that before on our last episode. I was talking about that fight. I really, really want to see that fight. And then another fight I want to see, which is on March 5th, folks, the WBC franchise super flyweight title is on the line when Roman Gonzalez faces off
Chocolatito.
against, Chocolatito against Julio Cesar Martinez. And that's going to be on DAZN at the Pachang Arena in San Diego, California. And, there's a bunch of matches looking way ahead. We've got, where is that fight? Oh, man. Errol Spence against Yordenis Ugas is on April 16th. Tyson Fury versus Dillian White on April 23rd. And here's the one. Here it is. Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. I cannot wait for that fight. The ladies squaring up, man. Who you got on that one, Harold?
Well, I like Serrano. I do, but Taylor has a great skill set, so I like Serrano though.
Yeah, man, I agree. I like some. I like them both, but certainly Amanda Serrano has faced a lot more worthy opponents, and I think I'm going to go with Amanda Serrano on that one. And then finally, April 30th, a big clash. It's for the WBC Wbo Lightweight Unification against Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. That's on ESPN, and it's at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, April 30th. That's a Saturday night. People, tune in because you're going to be blown away by all the amazing boxing that's coming in the next couple of months.
I hate to say it, but those things that we just spoke of, those are pay-per-view worthy fights, especially the Shakur fight, the fight you mentioned before that with Chocolatito, and the fight before that. Those are great fights for the fans to see, and you don't have to pay a dime. So boxing is really, really going to serve it up nicely between those three fights right there.
Yep. Well, everybody, thank you so much. It's been great.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxy and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxy.